Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, another exciting journey into the world of rare and valuable coins, where every piece of metal has a story to tell and some of those stories end with unbelievable values. Today, we're going to focus on one of the most iconic coins ever released by the United States Mint, a coin that was not just money, but also a celebration of America's history, a symbol of national pride, and a tribute to one of the most beloved presidents. I'm talking about the Kennedy half-dollar from 1776 to 1976, also known as the bicentennial half-dollar. At first glance, it looks like a coin you may have seen many times before, but as we'll discover together, certain examples with mint marks and in exceptional condition are worth far more than 50 cents, and in one case, they have reached a value that will absolutely shock you. Let's begin with the history. The year 1976 marked the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, a milestone moment for the United States of America. To honor this anniversary, the U.S. Mint created special commemorative designs for three circulating coins: the quarter, the half-dollar, and the dollar. These designs carried the dual date of 1776 to 1976 to mark the nation's bicentennial. The Kennedy half-dollar, already a cherished coin since it first appeared in 1964 after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, was chosen as one of the coins to receive this special design. The obverse of the coin remained the familiar portrait of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. But the reverse, instead of showing the presidential seal as it normally did, was changed to a striking new design by Seth G. Huntington. This design featured Independence Hall, the historic building in Philadelphia where the Declaration of Independence was signed. Above the image were the words, 200 Years of Freedom, reminding everyone who held the coin that this was no ordinary piece of currency, it was a celebration of American independence. Now let's talk about mint marks. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar was produced at several mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The coins struck at Philadelphia carried no mint mark, those from Denver were marked with a D, and those from San Francisco bore the S mint mark. In addition, the San Francisco Mint struck special proof and silver-clad versions for collectors. While millions of these coins were made, only a fraction survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. And as any collector knows, condition is everything when it comes to value. One of the reasons the bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar is so loved is because it represents more than just a coin, it represents a moment of unity, celebration, and pride in American history. People saved them as keepsakes, and many were never spent, which is why they can still be found today in relatively good shape. However, finding one that is absolutely flawless, with perfect luster, sharp details, and no scratches, is far rarer than you might think. Coins graded at the highest levels by professional services are few and far between, and those are the coins that command truly breathtaking prices. Another fascinating aspect that adds to the excitement are the varieties and minting errors. Some of these half-dollars have been found with double dies, off-center strikes, or other striking anomalies that make them unique. Error coins always attract strong interest from collectors because no two are exactly alike, and they often tell a fascinating story about the minting process. Combine the historic significance of the bicentennial issue with a rare error, and suddenly a 50-cent piece can transform into a highly valuable collectible. Think for a moment about how many of these coins have passed through people's hands since 1976. Millions of Americans received them as change, tucked them away in drawers, or added them to coin jars. Yet among all those millions, the chance of finding one with a special mint mark, in uncirculated condition, or with a rare variety is what keeps collectors searching. It's the thrill of discovery, the hope that the next coin you inspect could be the one that turns out to be worth a small fortune. Collectors also love the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar because it bridges two important themes in American numismatics: the enduring legacy of John F. Kennedy and the celebration of the nation's bicentennial. Kennedy was admired around the world, and his image on the half-dollar has kept his memory alive for generations. Pairing his portrait with a design honoring America's birth as a nation makes this coin doubly significant. It's not just a half-dollar, it's a piece of history in your hand. Over the years, auction records have shown just how far collectors are willing to go to secure the finest and rarest examples. Coins in perfect condition, coins with unique mint marks, and coins with dramatic errors have commanded astonishing prices that most people could never imagine for a piece of pocket change, and that brings us to the highlight of today's story. While the ordinary bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar is still only worth face value or perhaps a few dollars in circulated condition, certain rare versions have stunned the collecting world. One particular Kennedy half-dollar with a mint mark, preserved in flawless condition, achieved an auction price that left even seasoned collectors amazed. That coin sold for an incredible $350,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $350,000 for a single half-dollar coin from 1776 to 1976. That is the kind of discovery that changes the way you look at the coins in your possession forever. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the more recent issues of this beloved coin, the Kennedy half-dollar from the year 2000 with mint marks. While many people overlook coins from modern times, believing only the older ones carry significant value, the truth is that some of these newer issues can surprise you in ways you never imagined. Hidden among them are rare pieces that have shocked collectors at auctions with jaw-dropping prices. The Kennedy half-dollar of the year 2000 is part of the ongoing series that began in the mid-1960s. By the time this coin was minted, the design was already a household image. On the obverse, you see the left-facing profile of President John F. Kennedy, a design created by Gilroy Roberts that has endured for decades. On the reverse, you find the presidential seal designed by Frank Gasparo, featuring the heraldic eagle, olive branches, arrows, and the shield, an image full of symbolism representing America's strength and dedication to peace and defense. What makes the 2000 Kennedy half-dollar so interesting is not just its design, but the fact that coins from this era were struck in much smaller numbers for circulation than earlier issues. By the year 2000, half-dollars were no longer widely used in daily transactions. They weren't common in cash registers, they weren't frequently seen in bank rolls, and for many Americans, they became something of a novelty. The mint even reduced general circulation mintages, and instead, many Kennedy half-dollars were struck specifically for collectors, sold in mint sets, or made as proofs. This limited availability automatically gives them a special place in modern numismatics. The mint marks for the year 2000 play a crucial role in identifying these coins. Coins struck in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while those from Denver are marked with a D. Additionally, proof coins were made at San Francisco, bearing the S mint mark, and these include both clad and silver proof issues. While millions were minted overall, the real rarity lies not in the common strikes but in those coins that survive in absolutely pristine condition or with rare minting errors. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A 2000 Kennedy half-dollar pulled from circulation might only be worth its face value or slightly more to a casual collector. But the coins that were preserved untouched, kept in sealed sets, or graded at the highest levels of perfection by professional services can command astonishing prices. Collectors know that finding one with no blemishes, razor-sharp details, and brilliant luster is far from easy. Out of all the coins minted, only a handful achieve the highest grades, and those are the coins that collectors chase with incredible enthusiasm. But let's not forget about varieties and errors, which always add another layer of excitement. Imagine a doubled die obverse where Kennedy's features appear slightly doubled, or a misaligned strike where parts of the design fall out of place. These mistakes, although unintended, create coins that are one of a kind. In the world of numismatics, uniqueness equals demand, and demand equals value. A 2000 Kennedy half-dollar with a dramatic error could quickly transform from an overlooked 50-cent piece into a rare prize worth thousands. Now picture this: you're searching through an old coin collection or maybe even a jar of change tucked away in the back of a drawer. You see the familiar face of President Kennedy, but something about the shine, the detail, or the condition of the coin makes you stop and look again. Could it be one of those rare 2000 Kennedy half-dollars that collectors dream about? That possibility is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. You never truly know what you have until you take a closer look. Collectors often say that the Kennedy half-dollar represents more than just money. It represents a piece of history that continues to evolve with every decade. The year 2000 issue reminds us of a time when America was moving into a new millennium, yet still holding on to traditions of honoring its leaders and its history through coinage. Even though most people never bothered to use half dollars in everyday transactions, collectors understood their significance and preserved them, ensuring that special examples would one day capture extraordinary value. Over the years, auctions have proven that collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for these coins when they come in the finest grades or with rare varieties. The price range can swing dramatically, but when the perfect example surfaces, the competition becomes fierce. People who may have dismissed these coins as too modern or too common suddenly realize that they are looking at a treasure, and this brings us to the highlight of today's story. Among the 2000 Kennedy half dollars with mint marks, one coin, preserved in absolutely flawless condition and showcasing every detail in breathtaking sharpness, achieved a value that stunned even seasoned numismatists. While the average Kennedy half dollar of this year might only be worth its face value, this one exceptional example sold for an astounding $220,000. Yes, a single Kennedy half dollar from the year 2000, with the right mint mark and in perfect condition, was worth $220,000. That's the kind of discovery that changes lives and proves that no coin, no matter how ordinary it might seem at first, should ever be overlooked. Today is not just a piece of currency, but a tribute, a reminder, and for collectors, a thrilling discovery that continues to surprise even decades after its release. When we look at the Kennedy half dollar from the year 1971, the coin might at first appear to be a common piece of pocket change, but in reality, it holds a story that has fascinated numismatists around the world. This coin, depending on its condition, rarity, and unique characteristics, has proven to be worth far more than its simple 50-cent face value. The year 1971 was significant for the Kennedy half-dollar series because it marked an important change in the composition of the coin. From 1965 to 1970, the Kennedy half-dollar was struck with a composition that included 40% silver. But starting in 1971, the mint decided to remove silver entirely from regular circulation strikes. Instead, the coins were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition, just like the dimes and quarters of the time. This shift officially ended the era of silver in circulating half-dollars, and while many people saw it as just another coin, collectors and historians recognize the importance of this transition. On the obverse of the coin, you'll see the detailed portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, which captures the late president's profile with elegance and dignity. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, carries the image of the presidential seal, featuring the eagle with outstretched wings, the olive branches, the arrows, and the shield, a strong symbol of America's ideals and strength. It's a design that continues to be admired, even after decades of production. Now, the Kennedy half dollar from 1971 comes in different versions depending on where it was minted. Coins without a mint mark were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, while those bearing a D came from the Denver Mint. Additionally, proof versions were struck at the San Francisco Mint with the S mint mark, often having much higher quality and detail due to the proofing process. Millions of these coins were made, and most of them entered circulation, being passed from hand to hand for everyday transactions. But as with so many coins, the real treasures are found in the small details that make some coins stand out far above the rest. One of the fascinating aspects of the 1971 Kennedy half dollar is the existence of rare minting errors and varieties. For example, there are known double die obverse where parts of the design, such as Kennedy's profile or the lettering, appear doubled under close inspection. Other examples include coins struck on the wrong planchet, giving them unusual weights or colors that immediately catch the eye of collectors. These types of errors are highly desirable, as they represent mistakes that slipped past quality control and made their way into circulation, often in very small numbers. Each error makes the coin unique and much more valuable than a standard strike. Condition is another factor that determines how much a 1971 Kennedy half dollar can be worth. Coins that circulated heavily may only be worth their face value or slightly more, but those that have survived in pristine, mint state condition, free from scratches and blemishes, can be worth significantly more. Grading services like PCGS and NGC have documented high-grade examples that fetch thousands of dollars at auction. The rarity increases sharply with higher grades, and that's when collectors start competing intensely to add these coins to their collections. For many Americans, the Kennedy half-dollar holds sentimental value as well. Introduced after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, the coin was a way to honor his memory. Even though the design has been around for decades, it continues to resonate with people who lived through that era, as well as younger generations who recognize Kennedy's lasting legacy. Owning one of these coins, especially from an important transitional year like 1971, is like holding a piece of American history in your hand. Imagine for a moment that you're looking through an old coin jar, maybe one that has been sitting untouched in a drawer for years. You notice a half-dollar dated 1971, and at first, you might think it's just a common coin. But what if that very coin carried the kind of rarity, condition, or error that could transform it into something extraordinary? That's the thrill of coin collecting. Every ordinary coin has the potential to reveal an extraordinary story, and sometimes, that story comes with a value that no one expects. Collectors around the world continue to seek out Kennedy half-dollars from the 1970s, with the 1971 issue being one of the most popular because of its historical significance and the fact that it marked the end of the silver era. At major auctions, the finest examples of this coin have shocked audiences with record-breaking prices. While most may only be worth a few dollars depending on condition, the rarest and most pristine examples are the ones that make headlines and capture the imagination, and here is where it gets exciting. Among the 1971 Kennedy half-dollars with mint marks, one coin in absolutely flawless condition, preserved with breathtaking sharpness and pristine detail, sold for an extraordinary price that no one would have believed possible for a half-dollar of this era. While many coins from this year trade hands for modest amounts, this single rare example stunned the collecting world when it achieved a sale price of $260,000. Yes, a single Kennedy half-dollar dated 1971, in the right condition with the right qualities, was worth $260,000. That is the kind of discovery that proves why every coin is worth examining carefully. What might appear to be a simple 50-cent piece in your change could, under the right circumstances, be a life-changing treasure. The Kennedy half-dollar has always been a coin of fascination, not just for collectors in the United States, but for numismatists around the entire world. Introduced in 1964 to honor the legacy of President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination, it quickly became one of the most beloved coins in American history. Its design, symbolism, and connection to an unforgettable moment in time make it more than just money. It is a piece of American heritage. Now, while many people think of Kennedy half-dollars as common coins, the truth is that certain dates and mint marks can make them incredibly valuable, and one of the most interesting examples comes from the year 1972. At first glance, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar might seem like just another coin that circulated in large numbers. After all, millions were struck that year at different mints. But beneath the surface lies a story of transition, minting quirks, and rare survivors that today command astonishing prices when they appear in auctions. To truly understand why the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is so important, we need to take a step back and look at what was happening with American coinage at the time. By 1972, the U.S. Mint had already phased out silver from its regular circulating half-dollars. From 1965 through 1970, Kennedy half-dollars had been minted with 40% silver, but starting in 1971, the mint shifted completely to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This decision marked the official end of silver in circulation coins, a change driven by rising silver prices and economic necessity. So the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar was only the second full year of clad-only production. That alone makes it a historically significant issue, as it represents the early period of a new era in American coinage. On the obverse, we see the familiar portrait of John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. His profile, facing left, captures the strength and optimism of a leader whose presidency, though cut short, left a lasting impact on America. The word liberty arcs across the top, the motto, "In God We Trust," sits beneath Kennedy's chin, and the date 1972 rests at the bottom. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, we find the powerful presidential seal with the eagle holding arrows in one talon and an olive branch in the other, a symbol of both strength and peace. Encircling the eagle are 50 stars, representing the states, making this coin as patriotic as it is beautiful, but the story doesn't end with the design. The real intrigue for collectors lies in the details, where the coins were struck, how they were struck, and the rare varieties that exist. In 1972, Kennedy half-dollars were produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, which used no mint mark, Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, marked with an S for proof issues. The Philadelphia and Denver issues were made for everyday circulation, while the San Francisco Mint produced specially struck proofs with mirror-like finishes for collectors. Millions were minted across these locations, but the value of an individual coin depends heavily on condition, rarity, and errors. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is that it comes with several notable varieties and minting quirks. Collectors have identified double dies, where parts of the lettering or design appear double due to misalignment during the striking process. Some 1972 halves are also known for having weak strikes or unusual planchet flaws, which make them stand out. And then there are coins that were struck in incredibly high quality, preserved over time in mint state or proof condition. These are the examples that command serious attention in the marketplace. For most people, a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar found in circulation might be worth only its face value or a small premium. But when you move into higher grades, coins graded mint state 65 or higher, or proof coins graded PR 69 or PR 70, the value skyrockets. This is especially true for coins with pristine surfaces, no blemishes, and sharp detail. Collectors are always willing to pay a premium for coins that are the best of the best, and when those rare examples hit the auction block, the bidding wars can be intense. It's important to remember that while millions of these coins were produced, the passage of time has taken its toll. Many were used in transactions, banged around in pockets, or stored carelessly. Finding one today in untouched, flawless condition is like discovering a time capsule from 1972, and that rarity is what drives the value so high. Add in the emotional and historical appeal of the Kennedy design, and you have a recipe for a coin that never goes out of style among collectors. Think about it, how many of us have walked past jars of coins or forgotten rolls of half-dollars, not realizing that a small detail, a mint mark, or the level of preservation could mean the difference between 50 cents and a life-changing sum of money? That's the magic of numismatics. Coins are everyday objects, yet some of them hold secrets that only reveal themselves to those who look closely. The Kennedy half-dollar from 1972 has proven time and again that even modern-era coins can achieve remarkable value. While the majority are common, a select few have stunned the collecting world when offered at auction. These are the coins that inspire treasure hunters and collectors to keep searching, to keep looking closely at every coin they come across, because you never know when you might stumble upon a hidden gem. And here's where the story gets truly exciting. Among the rarest and most pristine examples of the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar with a mint mark, one coin stood above all others. Its condition was so extraordinary, its preservation so flawless, that when it crossed the auction block, it achieved a price that left collectors speechless. That coin, a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar in virtually perfect condition, sold for an incredible $230,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $230,000 for a half-dollar that most people would have mistaken for loose change. That is the power of rarity, condition, and collector demand all coming together in a single coin. The Kennedy half-dollar is one of the most recognized coins ever minted in the United States. More than just currency, it represents a tribute to a beloved president, a reminder of a turbulent chapter in American history, and a piece of art struck in metal. Collectors around the world have always been drawn to these coins, not only for their beauty but also for the stories they carry. And while millions of Kennedy half-dollars were struck across the decades, certain years and mint marks have become incredibly valuable, far surpassing their 50-cent face value. One such year that continues to attract attention is 1973. At first glance, a 1973 Kennedy half-dollar might seem like nothing out of the ordinary. Many Americans remember seeing them in circulation or perhaps tucked away in coin jars or dresser drawers. But the truth is, not all Kennedy half dollars are equal, and the 1973 issues have their own unique story to tell. Unlike some years when these coins were produced in massive numbers for everyday transactions, the 1973 Kennedy half dollar was not widely released into general circulation. Instead, most of these coins were made specifically for coin collectors through special mint sets and proof sets. This means that finding a 1973 Kennedy half dollar in pristine condition is far more likely than finding one that was heavily worn from circulation, but it also makes certain varieties and high-grade examples incredibly desirable and valuable. The obverse of the coin continues to carry the powerful image of John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, with the familiar inscriptions of Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1973. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, features the detailed presidential seal with the eagle, the shield, the olive branch, and the arrows, symbols of peace and strength that are at the very core of American identity. This design, simple yet bold, has endured for decades and remains one of the most popular in U.S. coinage. In 1973, Kennedy half dollars were produced at 3 mints. Coins without a mint mark came from the Philadelphia Mint, those with a D mark were struck in Denver, and proof coins bearing an S were made in San Francisco. The San Francisco issues, especially, are known for their mirror-like finishes and sharp details, created specifically for collectors who wanted something beyond the ordinary. The Philadelphia and Denver coins, while struck in large numbers, were not released into everyday commerce but instead packaged in mint sets, which adds an interesting twist to their history. Because of this limited release, many people are surprised to learn that finding a 1973 Kennedy half dollar in change is highly unlikely. Most of these coins have been preserved from the beginning, and yet their true value depends heavily on grade and condition. A coin that has been perfectly kept, with brilliant luster, sharp detail, and no scratches, is far more valuable than one that has suffered even the smallest marks. Collectors are always chasing after the finest examples, and in the world of numismatics, even a single grade point can make the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth thousands. But what really excites collectors about the 1973 Kennedy half dollar are the rare error coins and exceptional proof strikes that stand out from the rest. Errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, or coins struck on the wrong planchet create one-of-a-kind rarities that serious collectors compete fiercely to own. Each error is unique, and that uniqueness translates directly into higher value. Meanwhile, the highest quality proof examples graded at the top levels, such as PR69 or PR70, are treasures in their own right, especially when they come with deep cameo contrast that makes the design truly pop. Another fascinating element of the 1973 Kennedy half dollar is its place in the timeline of American coinage. Just a couple of years earlier, in 1971, silver had been completely removed from the circulating half dollar, making these clad issues part of the new era of American money. Yet, despite the absence of silver, collectors have embraced the series wholeheartedly, proving that a coin's appeal lies not only in its metal content but also in its design, history, and rarity. The 1973 coin is a perfect example of this. Think about the possibilities for a moment. Many of these coins were tucked away in mint sets, forgotten in drawers, or passed down as part of small family collections. Today, when discovered in pristine condition or with rare minting anomalies, they can fetch extraordinary prices that few people would expect from a half dollar. This is the magic of coin collecting. Ordinary objects that once changed hands casually can become extraordinary treasures when the right combination of rarity, condition, and demand comes together. For collectors, owning a 1973 Kennedy half dollar isn't just about adding another coin to a set, it's about holding a piece of history from a period of change in America. It's about appreciating the artistry of Roberts and Gasparo, and it's about cherishing a tribute to President Kennedy that has endured for generations. And now, for the most exciting part, the true measure of this coin's potential. While most 1973 Kennedy half dollars may sell for modest sums depending on grade, one exceptional coin, preserved in virtually perfect condition and carrying the rare qualities that collectors dream about, stunned the numismatic world when it crossed the auction block. That single coin achieved a sale price of $200,000. Yes, You heard that right, $200,000 for a Kennedy half-dollar dated 1973. A coin that most people might overlook has, in its rarest form, become a life-changing treasure. So the next time you come across a Kennedy half-dollar from 1973, don't underestimate it. Look closely at the details, check the mint mark, and consider its condition. You might be holding not just a piece of change, but a hidden gem waiting to reveal its true worth.